Neeraj Sripuram. So it's great to get together again. We've been friends for a long time. Uh, you have the honor of feeding me the hottest meal I've ever had in my life in an Indian restaurant outside of Milwaukee many years ago, and
Yeah,
I will never forgive you for that. But it was some of the best food I've ever had. So how are you, sir? How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I've been a road warrior since so many years and continue to be so. And I keep giving the same culinary experiences to people.
Yeah. Good. All right. So, hey, Raj, tell me. We've like I said, we both worked at IBM. We both were there a long time. We got to know each other really well. We've traveled the world together, so we've kind of done some really cool stuff together. On top of building some great business at IBM, I've always considered you really a good, trusted friend and a very sound business person, right? You've always had great insights. So, but I never really knew much about your background other than that we both worked at IBM together. So why don't you give me and the audience a little bit of your history and some of the stuff you've done and catch us up to where you are today.
Yeah, so let me start by saying I was a naughty kid. That's where I begin. And a lot of people thought, if this guy is here this bad, I don't know what the heck the world's going to be afterwards. So I did my study undergrad in mechanical engineering. And right after, we had to move to Bombay, and because my dad was leading a company there. So I got interested in software application engineering. I did a postgraduate diploma there. And from there, I got into my first job at Tata Technologies, which is one of the Tata Group companies that specializes in SAP consulting, automotive, and that kind of space. So through them, I had my first stint in the US. Mostly started in bespoke development, Oracle, C, C++. I have the pleasure and happiness of having written a C++ program with ProC for about 3,500 lines. So I have had all those joyful days of log dot matrix printers and everything. And when I moved to the US for the first time in 2000, it was an interesting time because it was Target that I worked for in Minnesota. And I still remember the fun times we had with the three different Target retail groups. And it was a great learning experience on the process oriented approach to how the American industry and corporate world works. So it was a great learning. After that, I moved back to India. I did get married in between there and came back to India, had kids. I was always interested and enamored by the leadership side of things. I think partly because I was always enchanted by my dad's leadership qualities. So I said, that's the place I want to be in the management space. Okay, went back to India. I grew up the food chain in about 4 years. I went from being a project manager to an associate vice president. I switched companies, went to electronic data systems in India, and it was a great company. I loved the place. And then EDS itself acquired a company locally in India called Emphasis, and then we became Emphasis and EDS company. And then EDS was acquired by HP, so we became Emphasis and HP company. But through this whole process, the two M&As that happened, it gave me a huge advantage because it helped me leapfrog my career into management faster than usual because I went from PM to being an associate vice president. At the end of 2000, in the middle of 2008 is when I moved back to the US for good. By then, I was a father of two boys and came to the US with really young kids. And I still remember the time when my friend picked me up at the airport in Michigan this time. You see the cold places thing? That's the thing with me. So I come to Michigan, this guy picks me up and he says, Neeraj, practically everybody in April, May 2008 is going back to India. What the heck are you doing with the two suitcases here? I said, where there's trouble, there's opportunity. That was practically what I told him. He said, all right, never mind, come, I'll take you. So I restarted my journey in the US in 2008. My family joined a little later. And when I came back to the US, I came in as the Associate Vice President for the North America SAP practice. And during that time, I think I did this dual role of both being a sales guy in the daytime and a delivery leader in the nighttime. To the extent where, when my in laws were visiting, they asked my wife, all we see is your husband's in the room and he's talking on the phone from morning to night and he gets paid for this, really?
And it hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. So the only thing that obviously he could see was I was traveling back and forth to different customers. But other than that, he found that very amazing. So I did work with that company for almost 7 years. And during that time with EDS emphasis HP, I'd published a paper on the SAP mobility space because that was brand new. Mobility was taken off. You had the iPhone come out, and the hype was pretty big. I published a paper. Someone saw that at IBM and said, "Hey, we're building a SAP mobility practice. Why don't you come join us?" And that's how IBM happened, which is
Oh,
where I met you, my dear friend, along the way. And when I started within the consulting group, and we did this fun stuff where we took HANA was just released, and we took Watson, and we created a baby called Hanson. That so it was fun stuff that we got to do, and it was great time. And as we started doing a lot of work, we did grounds up mobile transformation work, and eventually moved to the cloud business within IBM then, and that's where our meeting happened. And we had such fun times. I think the part that kept me always sticking across all of these roles was the fact that I've always enjoyed meeting people, solving problems, and obviously seeing places. These three things were near and dear to me just because of the extrovertish personality I have and the fact that I'm a foodie too, right? I think all of those came along and never was a dull day. And you and me know we traveled around the world. There was this point in time where I was the global pre-sales for global technology services, and I did 10 countries in a month, speaking at so many places for a large go-to-market initiative that we were doing for GTS then. And then eventually moved into Kyndryl, where I became a consult partner, focused on initially data and AI. That's where I started, but eventually got into strategic accounts where I manage a large utility customer now, and it's fun. It's consulting over the last 27, 28 years, I think. I stopped counting, but it's what keeps me ticking.
excellent. Yeah. So tell me about, as someone, I left I left IBM a little bit before the Kyndryl exit. So what was that like, having to go leave IBM and join Kyndryl? Was it a pretty easy move? And what was the organization like? Were you kind of were you there to help get things up and running originally? I'm just curious how you fit in.
I think the part that was interesting, given that I'd already been through two M&As, I knew some of the nuances that happen when these company takeovers happen, right? Or the split that happens. It was interesting to see the key focus on segregation of systems and from an organization perspective, how you get deshackled from new objectives and how do you drive new missions, right? I think that metamorphosis from being part of a larger company with its own mission down to a smaller, more nimble, agile company that could chart its own course was really fascinating. And now we've been at this for about 3.5 years. So that was great. And as we do this, being able to change your vision and mission, right?
Yeah.
They say vision is like the head and mission is like the heart, right? And the mission at the heart of it is technology transformation, I think. The vision is obviously to be known to be the enabler of business outcomes, right? That whole transition and transformation was the great part of it. And I was glad I was in key parts of that conversations. Um, Not to the level where I shaped it, but I was contributing to it.
That's good. That's a great story. And what are you doing now? I mean, what type of consulting are you doing? Are you back into the GTS mode and selling those types of services, or where are you guys branching out?
So I think one of the conscious decisions that we took when we moved into this new organization, Kindle, was we have to be a consult-led organization. The leadership was very clear. They made it 100% evident that the path forward is only if you can be the trusted partner of your customer, right? I think that ground rule was set. Based on that, the focus on, we call it as 3As. If you look at Kyndryl's um, market announcements, they talk about the 3As, right?
Yep.
The accounts, advanced delivery, and alliances. These are the three big ones that we do. And the accounts became a big focus where they said companies and industries where we think there is a huge growth, energy being one of them, right? We will double down on customers that lead change or are trying to become leaders in their space. So that's where I'm in focus right now.
Yeah.
I'm 100% dedicated to a key strategic account where energy focus, utility, and what I do on a day-to-day basis is identify ways to drive transformation for business outcomes with technology as the enabler, right? You have to start at the business layer.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And tell me about some of, both of us coming from sales, tell me about some of your tricks to get in and gain trust as that trusted advisor. What is it that you kind of, fall back on?
So recently, somebody asked me the exact same question in a evening dinner. I think I was having with an MD at EY, but that was more a friendly conversation. He said, "What do you think about sales and how is it different?" I think the only path to earning trust, which is the essence of being a good salesperson, lies in intellectual capabilities, but connecting the dots for the customer, right? Especially when you go to large customers, the benefit you have as an outside in person is the ability to see the cracks and the pointed care you can take to showcase the whole journey and connect the dots between the broken pieces, right? And when you do this in a systematic way, you can start helping the customer transform in components and pieces.
Yeah.
But for us as a salesperson, you need to be able to see the big picture first. And that foundation hasn't changed. But given the advent of technology, today a salesperson is no longer the guy who says, "Hi, I'm so and so," and the customer opens his mouth and he says, "Let me bring my guy who is a good one at that." I think those days are over,
Yeah.
right? And now it is all about the person who is interfacing with the customer. He's on top of the changes that are happening in the industry and the technology front, but also be able to have the first, second, and third level conversation with the customer before you get to the point of saying, "Hey, let me bring someone in," because now you've qualified the opportunity, is the way I would put it. So some nuances have changed.
Yeah. And where, in all of your experience, where have you seen people really struggle with trying to develop those types of relationships?
I think authenticity is
And we
the
can use
root
we can
of.
use names, right? Like,
No. I think the way I would put it is the people who have the most struggle with breaking glass or opening a door are the people who forget about why they are in that role in the first place,
Yeah.
right? Your job is not to make money. It should be an outcome of what your actions are, which is helping your customer solve a problem, right? I think if you root it in that, doors will open automatically. And again, keeping foundational principles of sales, which is, hey, you can't get the trust of a person in your first meeting. It's very rare, right? Second thing is, you have to go through the motions of the problem with them before you earn the trust and get to the point where they open up and say, hey, I see where your expertise lies. Now let me give you a problem that lies in your expertise,
Yeah.
right? People are always trusting, but they want to validate before they trust you, right?
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
Yeah, and then we always carried the baggage of, oh no, it's the IBM guys, right? And like, yeah, we've been burned by you in the past. I don't know that we want to. For me, that was like the hardest door to walk through. It's like, all right, the bridge has already kind of been, lit
Bird
afire,
for
right?
you.
And now I got to try to walk across it and see if I can get them to actually listen to me. And I tell this story all the time. I've had some of the most uncomfortable conversations in my entire life with customers, to where they just basically berated me, right? I mean, like I never had a chance. And that to me was the ultimate conquest, when you could kind of win them back over and say, look, I'm not the guy who screwed you over the last time, right? And I think there's some things here that you may benefit from, even if it's just seeing what's capable, right? And just give you
Correct.
some perspective on solving problems that you might have in the enterprise. It just may have, you might just get a light go off, right? So let me just tell you kind of some of the stuff we're doing. And if you don't want to talk to me after that, then fine, right? But if there's an opportunity there for you to have some level of improvement, and you to be a hero in the company, right? Then I'm here to support you, and I won't let you down, right? And
Correct.
I kind of found that worked. Now, granted, we had a really good product that we were selling, so I think that helps as well,
Yeah.
right? Uh,
It takes away the burden, because once they've seen it, they're like, oh, even though I don't like the guy or the background from where he comes from, I still need the product, so I'll buy it. So
yes.
yeah, having a great product is saving you 50% of the trouble, but still you have to be able to connect the problem statement they have with the product you have. That takes intellect,
Yeah.
right? That's the way I would put it.
Very good. So when we were discussing this podcast, you like in a matter of minutes went and spit out a whole agenda, and we were both laughing about what you kind of wrote down. I was shocked. I was like, wow, you've really been thinking about this. And I quickly figured out that you had generated it all through AI, which I thought was funny. And then we kind of, in our conversation, we're tying back the AI discussion into what we're seeing in the consulting world, and what we're seeing clients do. So just give me your quick 2 cents, and then we can dive a little bit deeper as to where you see this going, how you're using it. I'm really curious, how you're using it at work and stuff. And then I'll share some of my stories about how we're using it as well.
No, so this is especially given that I've been through multiple generational shifts that happen. Not to date myself, but mobile was a big change that came, right? Because when iPhone got released and I was part of the Apple IBM partnership team, we used to visit Cupertino and others. The facet of user experience and its amplification to the highest level happened at that time,
Yeah.
because people quickly realized, hey, human centric design is something, right? So I've seen the mobile transformation piece happen. And then, of course, cloud came about, and they said, gone, data centers are gone. No one's going to ever have a physical data center. We are in 2025 now, and physical data centers are the hottest thing on the planet right now, right? So, so in the same vein, I think what happened with AI is similar to what happened to the Pokemon game, right? You remember the Pokemon game that happened, and it had the highest adoption rate in like 45 days, which Facebook had in 2 years or something. They were doing those comparisons. I think the democratization of AI technology was what changed the paradigm for everybody, right? Because now you took a technology play and made it ubiquitous to everybody, whether you're an auto rickshaw driver in India or you're a top notch architect working for a bank. There was no segregation. Everybody had the exact same power. All that was needed was how you upskill yourself and make use of it, right? So I think the adoption speed was phenomenal because they made it everybody's uh, choice and toy, if you want to call it that. And I think the proliferation of that into the workspace has been phenomenal.
Yeah.
And and the fears, like you would expect, are exactly the same way. Will it take the jobs again, right?
Yeah.
And that is the point of discussion to the place where people are saying, is consulting dead? My answer is to be continued.
Yeah, I don't think it's dead.
No way. No way. I think the beauty of technology is that it's sugar in milk. It's never vinegar in milk, right? So AI is going to make technology even more stronger. It makes it easier for adoption, and I think that's the way it is. Right now, I see it as a job aid. The next step of it will be job modernization,
Yeah.
eventually to the place where there is probably job replacement or disposition, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's gonna go that way. Because I'm running a consulting company now,
Hmm.
and people still need the services, right? I mean, it's that
Correct.
expertise level, and we're using AI, but it's really more to be productive, right? Instead of having to go, dig through manuals for cloud, deployments and see how to do, various types of connectivity, or, what's the best practice for managing user IDs across, multiple tenants, right? This is one we're working with a customer on now. We can very quickly kind of, use AI to distill down that information. So, I've been saying, and some people hate that I do this, but that it's just search engine 2.0, right? Instead of getting the web pages back and then I've got to go filter through them, I've got to go read all this stuff. I got to go through
Correct.
4 or 5 web pages before I find anything that's actually related to what I'm looking for. Now I can just go and use AI, and it's going to go find all of the relevant stuff through those web pages and then give me a coherent response, right? So it just
Correct.
saved me all that time. And now and then the thing I found, though, and I'm sure you're experiencing this as well, is it's it's not going to replace me, because I still have to go read through it and say, all right, you're missing half the stuff I need, right? So
Exactly.
you can go add pieces in, and that's kind of where I really like the conversational part. To me, that's like the most innovative thing about that solution space right now. It's that I can start this thread and I maintain continuity through that thread through the whole discussion, right?
Correct.
And the
It's
challenge,
the
yeah,
context carryover that is the biggest difference now, because most of the search that we had didn't have the context carry
right,
forward, right? And that's a big change. The second thing I liked about what you said is how it's entered in the productivity space to begin with, where there is a huge impact, especially, I mean, for consulting folks like you and I, we attend a ton of meetings, right? The key actions from every meeting is first to summarize what the heck we spoke about and what we agreed to do as next steps. The second step is go do those things, right?
yeah,
And I think those two places, AI is playing a big role, and being able to do that effectively is what is key. Like, for example, I've almost designed my conversational skills now in such a way that I know how I want Copilot to summarize it. Like if I'm meeting a team of three or four groups within my company, I structure and I say, let's say the scope is for three different customer meetings. I converse in a way in the model that I want the agendas to be for the meeting or the outcomes for those meeting. And then after that section's done, I just have Copilot give me a summary of the last 5 minutes. And then I paste it into the chat and say, guys, use this and create the meeting invite.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you're going to the next level already. That's great.
No, because that is where, because even though you have AI still needs some aid, is the way I see it.
Yeah.
So if you think and work in that context, it makes your productivity go a lot higher.
Yep. And then do you think, well, how do I ask this question? How long do you think before customers figure it out and start saying, do I really need these guys or can I just do this all myself?
It's funny you should ask this because I was having dinner with somebody recently, one of my customers. And with this customer, he's super smart, and the customer leads the data function for one of the power groups within the customer I work. And we showed him, there was a figment of a conversation about how storms affect power delivery, right? And we took that figment of a conversation and came out with a presentation that we worked with a PhD in our group who was a CTO and specializes in agentic AI. We created the entire deck and presented it to him, right? This included Kyndryl's newly announced agentic AI framework. And we explained, the PhD guy who we brought in, the CTO, was phenomenal. So he explained the framework in simple terms, how the MCPs play, how the whole data lakes play, all of that. And the customer was like, this is the most lucid explanation for agentic AI that I've seen. And I know for a fact that you guys didn't just run a query on GPT and throw it at me, right? So this is exactly to the point about consulting and its relevance is its expertise, experience, and connecting the dots, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think that what's the saying on Reddit, right? Tell me like I'm a 5-year-old. I, I
Yeah,
I think it still takes that skill to be able to pull that off, right? You got to be able to, it's one thing to kind of absorb it all and produce a document with all of the relevant bullet points. It's another thing to be able to talk about it in a conversation and make it make sense to people, right?
exactly.
And it was always a funny thing where I would, people would say, or they would ask my wife, like, what does your husband do? And she'd just kind of have this stare, like, I have no idea what he does, to be totally honest. And
Sure. And because of the proliferation of technology at the same speed for everyone, no one's behind,
yeah,
right? You don't have that, hey, I'm on an N plus one, you're on an N minus one. No, everybody gets GPT-5 at the same time, right?
yeah,
Now, you can't pull a fast one on anybody. So the customers are equally able, especially because we work in the technology space, the customer can see it transparently through. So you can give information out of GPT, but articulation is the key. And
very good.
that is where the consulting angle comes in because you can throw information, but it's no use if it can't give insight.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Articulation is the key. You should write that down. That's a good one.
Hey, we are recording it, so we can go back and use it.
Yeah, that's true though. I mean, that's kind of where, you can spit out all the details in the world, but if you can't distill it down and make it make sense to someone and then explain how it affects them, then
Okay.
it's really worthless, right? Anyone can do it, but no one can understand it. And I think that's a part of this whole, step forward in technology that a lot of people just don't realize yet. It's like, being able to prompt one is one talent, right? And to get the right answers at. out of it, and then be able to understand those answers and actually put them in context of what you're doing for a customer, and turn around and be able to, you still have to say what's the value in this, and what's the ROI, and you have to be able to explain that to people that are going to, number one, it comes back to that trust, right? They're going to believe you, and number two, that they see the same messaging that you do, right? Like, yes, this makes sense, and I think that's kind of where the human effect still comes into all this, and
Yes.
I just don't. I'm not, I'm not of that mind that this is going to replace a lot of people's jobs. I mean, maybe if your whole life is developing PowerPoint decks and formatting Microsoft Word documents, then yeah, you might be in some trouble. But it's not even doing that kind of stuff yet, right? I mean, Copilot probably does a little bit of it, but for the most part, I still got to go write the document, right? I'm not
Yeah.
getting any real relief. I still got to go put it in the template, right? I still got to create all the graphics. Gen AI is just horrible at graphics still. Um,
Yes.
then the other thing, and this is kind of what I wanted to dive in with you next, is and it comes back to that authenticity statement, right? I'm evolving as well, so I'm getting better at picking up what is AI and what's real, right? And
Hmm.
I always talk about LinkedIn and how I have so many messages in my LinkedIn queue now, and half of them are almost the exact same, right? And you can just tell they're coming from the same outreach system. It's the same type of AI that it's using. It goes and finds a little bit about your background, so it tries to have this connection with you, right?
Yep.
But it's like, yeah, I got the same thing from three other people today. So it's it's getting, and then the same with all the videos coming out, right? So now you've got these AI videos where they're all, some of them are actually pretty good, but at the same time, it's like it doesn't take but a couple frames and you can realize this isn't real, right? So
Yeah, it's between corny, cheesy, and correct, right?
yes.
That's what it is.
Well, it's like I kind of if you go back and watch the old Star Wars movies, right, when they're doing some of the space scenes, you can see where like the cutout little images of the ships are floating
Exactly.
around, and they're doing like
Yes, yep, yep.
the still part because they didn't have the computers to do it yet. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of that. It's like the early CGI phase where they're really easy to pick out.
No, so one of the things that customers look for you to be able to do as a consultant, right? At the root of what we do, whatever the title may be, you're doing only one thing, which is being a trusted partner, right? As a consultant, that's your primary role. So what I do is I follow a lot of folks who claim to be AI thinkers, right?
Yeah.
And some of them post these posts that say, "Hey, I don't need a McKinsey consultant. I can do it with a $100 subscription to three tools," right? So I always take on those challenges and say, "Let me run this." Like this morning, we had a conversation with a customer about uh, uh, AIM stuff within security, which is identity access management. Um, and I was like, okay, this is a good topic for me to run through this consulting type query process. And I ran it through the MEIS requirements and the whole discovery assess requirements that typically are part of the consulting frameworks for solving any problem. I built a long prompt and I ran it through and said, give me an executive presentation, you're a strategy consultant, blah, blah, blah. And then said, these are the key things I want you to talk about: benchmarks, industry standards, relevance to utilities, and all kinds of things. And I ran it and it gave me an output. It wasn't anywhere close to something that I could take to a customer,
Right.
right? So the process of getting information is where AI is at right now, to scour the internet, crawl the internet, get us the right amount of data points. But I think the job of crafting that story is still in the hands of the consultant, because that part we have not imparted yet to the AI world. So I'm always taking on challenges to see, are we there yet? Is my question always.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. So you said something a little bit earlier that I want to touch on a little bit, and then that's the move back to the databases, and it made me laugh because I always remember when I was doing mainframe programming and writing COBOL, and everyone kept saying, "Yeah, this is dead, right? Java's going to replace this, and the internet's gone. Like mainframes are dead. Nobody's ever going to use them anymore." And it's still like a huge part of IBM's business. There's still COBOL out there being written,
Mhm.
and you kind of said that the data center is on a comeback. So I'm just curious what you're seeing and what do you think is causing some of that? Why are customers taking control of their intranet again?
Yeah, I think it's based on two things, right? One is flexibility, second is reliability that they can provide themselves. So a lot of the customers who are investing in the AI space are starting to say, "Hey, I do need a physical footprint because if I want to grow my business manifold with the use of AI for scale, right?
Yeah,
Then I need to have my own self-sufficient power models, which is where the smaller nuclear reactor models are coming up, and the whole construct of self-contained data centers is coming, right? So the need for higher computing aided by AI systems is driving some of that paradigm shift in the data center space. So the same paradigm, same context of, mainframe's not dead yet, right? We still have millions of MIPS floating around and companies running critical systems on mainframes. The same thing is happening with the data center. It's getting its own facelift in a way to say, how do you build decentralized and self contained data centers that could truly power innovation and progress, right? That's where I think the data centers sexy again is happening.
so that's really interesting, and tie it back now into the agentic AI stuff and how that's playing a role in that space.
So I think agentic AI is reliant on two big components, right? The ability to have access to data and process. So if you have these two pieces really well defined in any context, whether it's an enterprise level, application level, or in the use of people for doing tasks that need to be accomplished, if you have the data and the process laid out, agentic is the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
People start off with agentic and fail because the data is missing or they have a process maturity gap. The moment you fill these two gaps correctly, or at least do a pathway and an on ramp to achieving a higher level of maturity from where you are, then agentic becomes your solution for scale.
Gotcha.
That's what it is.
Gotcha. And where do you see it going? Do you see agentic taking over some of the more manual management steps of running a data center? I mean, is that how Kyndryl's starting to use it? Like, let's instead of having a bunch of knocks and socks and all these people monitoring your stuff remotely, like agentic AI begins to do that.
So I would give it in the context of SRE, right?
Yeah.
SRE, or even eyes on glass. In today's day and age, if you look at uh, eyes on glass, it's more to say something happened, thanks for letting me know. Not about it's happening now, I got to go fix it. Okay?
Yeah.
So the part that has changed with even automation in its nascent form when we started about 15 years ago, right? We started writing recipes, playbooks, all of those things with Red Hat products.
Yeah.
Those automations are still Ansible, for example,
Yeah.
was the start of something like this where auto heal was where we were trying to get to. Today, auto heal is like table stakes, right? For 80% of the alerts and issues that you see in your infrastructure estates, you could automate the process to down to a 90% accuracy or 95% accuracy,
Well,
right? And even extend it in the space of security alerts. There's a lot of false positives that could now be solved through agentic evaluation or planners and reviewers agents, and they can then pop up the ones that are really a problematic thing, that is a correlation of 3 or 4 different data points, to say, hey, this particular system plus that system that was running at high CPU combined with a low latency rate, this is a combination that probably has more authentic problems that it'll create down the line. I think agentic is taking away the complexity with 3 people doing 4 different searches or evaluations at the same time. Now you've congregated that in a uh, simplified, systematized model. That's what is changing the game for data centers, NOCs, SOCs, all of those places, because you now have agentic help to do 4 different things from 4 different business functions as well, to aggregate and give you the answer. Things like onboarding, right? It's a big, amazing case for agentic. You have to take HR data, you have to take their department that they're going to go into. Then you got to take data in terms of the person's preferences on what type of laptop he likes, whether it's a Mac or Windows. You got to aggregate multiple variations of data spheres and bring them together to simplify that entire onboarding process. That's what we are doing in the marketplace right now.
very cool. And then let's talk about autonomy, right? How much do we let them go?
Yeah, this is a favorite topic. I think a lot of the work that's happening now is in that autonomy space. How much freedom is good freedom versus bad,
Yeah.
right? And agents are like small kids who are learning continuously, right? But sometimes they go have their tantrums. And I think the boundary models that are defined for how agents work is now the biggest think tank space in my view. We are applying some of the most well-known models to help drive that boundary models.
Yeah.
Runbooks, runbooks for agents is the way I would put it, so that the agent knows, hey, this line I cross, not acceptable, right? So I think that space is evolving, because you don't want agents running amok, because every single day you read about some AI program that didn't listen to the human or didn't follow the 3 cardinal rules,
Yeah.
right? You read about it all the time, and those GPT to GPT conversations about taking over the world. We've all seen that. So I think, given the nascency of AI, we're still scratching the surface,
Yeah.
and its applicability to enterprises. I think there's a lot more work to be done in the governance of AI, right? This is the big piece that is upon us and in front of us, because moving from productivity to actual capturing work processes or even value streams is the pathway that these are going. And when you get to the levels of value streams, you have to have boundaries,
Yeah.
because you might be running mission critical systems now, and you don't want that to be in a mindless autonomy. You want it to be in a self-field controlled model.
Yeah. Totally agree. But it's interesting to see how far people want to let them go. I was on a crazy call 2 weeks ago, and it was one of those calls I was like, I didn't know who I was getting ready to talk to or what the subject was. And then I got on the call, and it just blew my mind about what we were talking about. And we were talking about AI insurance. Like, it gave us really bad results. We lost a lot of money because of what it told us. Who's responsible for that? Right? So now you can go buy a policy against your solution spitting out bad answers, right? And and then the depth that the company has to go into to come up with that policy, it is like that. That's fascinating to me as well, right? It's
Yeah.
like what?
We are already short of underwriters. You know that, right? In the US,
Oh yeah,
actuaries.
it's crazy, right?
Yeah,
And
we're at, I think, 25% of required capacity. There are only 30,000 actuaries apparently in the US.
yeah, nice. And well, you just kind of maybe start thinking about it, right? It's like I just went and an agentic AI just went and deleted a bunch of virtual machines that are, you
Oh,
know,
yeah,
production ready because they thought they weren't in use or something, and now all of a sudden your business is losing $1 million a day, right?
right.
And the solution you bought from that vendor have insurance. Like, who do you go after? Are you going after the LLM provider? Are you going after the company that kind of stitched it all together with LangChain, or are you
Yeah.
going somewhere else, right? So I was like, I can't believe that this is the next thing. And then, of course, as soon as I saw it's one of those things. You notice the first one, I started seeing all these,
Other ones pop up,
yeah,
right?
they're coming up everywhere now, right? So
Because now people are not afraid to talk about the reality bites on adoption of AI,
yeah,
right? This is with anything, like whether you're learning a bicycle, you are going to fall, right? AI is in the exact same realm. We are just starting off, and everybody is using it in their own cognitive capabilities, right? The moment you start using it within your realm of smartness or stupidity, however you want to call it, right? You are going to make mistakes. And the point about accountability, I think, is the key. At the end of the day, you can look at it this way: you can go create a Word document or a PowerPoint. The choice of what you use depends on who the person is that's going to receive it and how it's going to be used, right?
yep,
Same way, AI's accountability is also on the creator and the consumer, right? The accountability is more on the creator because he or she is the person that's taking the aid and help from AI to gather information or sometimes insights and then connect the dots for the problem statement in hand. So I see human in the loop not going away anytime soon.
yep.
HIL is the next big thing. There's even an industry term for it. They call them as AI generalists. That is the new role that is evolving across the enterprise as someone who knows how to use the different AI models, AI solutions, tools,
Yep.
and craft the outcome that an enterprise may want. And AI generalist is a new role among 20 other different variations that have come out.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely an evolving world for sure, right? And it's gonna. I still think we're not at the peak of the hype curve yet, right? I still think there's more coming out there, and there's going to be more problems, right? I see. I was just on the Register. It's a site that I go and I read every day about technology stuff, right? The Reg. And there was some other thing on there, like the copyright suits are just about to start pouring in, right? Because people are
Yeah.
seeing their content show up in some of the AI responses, and they're like, "Yeah, I didn't give you permission to use, and you're charging every month for this, right?" And
Yep.
I should get a piece of the pie. It's the Napster problem all
Yeah.
over again, right? So, you know,
No, no, I will take it even more rudimentary. It's the W-2 problem at the stores that you have at the grocery stores,
yeah.
right? We do our own checkouts and we don't get a W-2 from them.
Ah, yes.
Does that hit home? So, Europe, I think it was yesterday or day before, Europe came out with a new copyright law. They said your face, your voice, as well as your characteristics are your copyright.
Huh.
Nobody can use this. This is
Interesting.
one of the newest laws that came out since you brought about the copyright aspect. That is the new thing. So you own copyrights to yourself, not the photographer.
Yeah.
That's one thing that's pretty commonly done. So they're saying in the advent of AI and AI centric content that's coming out, similarities to your face that's created by AI could technically be under the lenses of infringement.
Interesting. All right. All right. So, any predictions on where this is all going? Where do you see the next leg of this?
I think the next leg of this is in the refinement space, right? That's where it is because we have just started the foundational use cases,
Yep.
and this will continue to be the case. Uh, Integration, aggregation, and eventually adoption without friction is where it needs to go, right? And today we have adoption, but there's a lot of friction points along the way. Like I went to this symposium in Bangalore. It was conducted by Worksoft, and the topic of discussion was what is changing with AI in the space of SDLC, right? The app dev and DevOps space. So we usually had this 40 60 mix, right? 60% of the time and effort resources goes to building the application.
Mm-hmm.
40% was going towards testing and peripheral activities like deployment and so on. The tables have turned. With AI coming into the mix for the SDLC lifecycle, the human part of the app development space is shrinking
Yeah.
to the point of 30 40%, and the onus on testing for biases, incongruencies, as well as things that could be fatal in terms of autonomy have to be checked for,
Yeah.
right? Because your code is no longer just human generated with the same intent and intentionality that you would have a human working at a problem. So the you've broken the gates on how it's developed. So now what will happen is you have to build the walls to make sure the mortar was used and the bricks were used and the right reinforcement rods were used so that when it goes out, it doesn't break on the first instance. So I think that's where the shift is happening, and that part is going to be evident to everybody pretty soon that now testing is more important than ever.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, man, I just see it around performance, right? I've always been a performance nut, and uh, I just see a lot of these apps that are coming out, like the Vibe apps and those types of things.
Oh yeah.
They're just not built for optimization. Just memory hogs and latency, and it's just not. They don't seem to learn efficient coding, right? I don't know what it gets based off of. I've played around with it a little bit, but I'm just such a what's the right word? I'm so caught up in doing things the way I know, right? I that I can't let go. It's I just don't trust it yet. So I do it. I'll use it, but I'll go in and change a lot of the functions and get them to use loops the same way I want them to work, and other types of things. So, and I can just see, like, it just assigns all these values to variables that never get used, and there's like all this wasteful
A
stuff.
lot of arbitrary stuff that
Yeah,
gets added.
just stuff in there, and then all the documentation. I don't need documentation. Just give me the code.
No, but I think that's the way you balance human in the loop correctly,
Yeah.
right? If you look at the overall construct of the program, if the objectives of the program are clearly defined, right, there's 70 to 80% of it which is based on that intention that the program's supposed to do. But then there's a core 20 to 30% which is the prime logic, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that. That's where I see HIL in the mix, because the prime logic is the place you want to spend most of your time, not on the peripheral stuff that are kind of pretty standardized
Yeah.
for the most part, whether it is function definitions, error definitions, and those kind of things. Those used to take time for us to do. We could still offset that effort into building a more richer logic or algorithm, however you want to taste it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where HIL would come into play in the development space, I think.
Yeah, I really like it on the database access stuff, right? Just writing SQLs and
Yeah.
making sure that you're hitting the primary keys correctly and that you're using indexes. I mean, it all goes back to my mainframe days where every byte counted, right? I mean, because you just, if you wrote bad code or you were allocating
It'll
space
tell.
that you didn't need, yeah, like you're not creating another flag. Just use the flag that you used above that you're no longer using, right? Just go reset it and use it
Sure.
again. So stop allocating all this memory. And I see that, the how to get data in and out of databases, that is a perfect use case for me, because there's really, you really can't screw it up, right?
Pretty straightforward thing.
It's just
Yeah. Sure.
SQL. But the rules are really well defined, so it's not like, unless you're missing a column someplace or something. But to me, that's where I found it to be the most helpful.
No.
And now
I think that's what it is.
I don't know if you've seen
Picking the right use case for the right tool.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's good at some things and bad at others. Have you seen Lovable yet? Lovable.ai?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so Lovable.ai will go and build a website for you in seconds. So you tell it what you want, and the structure of the page, what's the business, and it'll go, build out a website layout for you that you can then just flip right into. You can throw it over to UI designer, do it in WordPress, however you want to go build
Yep.
it, do it in React. But for me, as a website designer, where I've done that work a lot, I just rack my brain trying, how to align things and how to make them look nice. And I was blown away by what that tool could do. And now, I've got to get an account because I don't. It just made that design process so much easier. And then you can alter everything it gives you, right? So it's easy to change colors and pictures and
Yeah.
but the layout just glorious the way it prints stuff out. So if you haven't played with it
No,
yet, give it a try.
there are many such tools now, right, which are site replicators,
Yeah.
theme replicators. I think it goes back to the point about where is the creative boundaries on the person that did it in the first place, right? I think that part is going to start um, showing up soon as a important aspect of the template copying part,
Yeah.
right? Inspiration, however you look at it. I think there's going to be a questionable point where they say anyone who replicates something from mine has to give me a share of what that is.
Yeah.
The same about there is creative genius that went into building, let's say, a Nike website, right?
Yeah.
And if you use Lovable and create a Nike like website, then Nike used 15 designers, 40 app developers, and 200 database guys to create that awesomeness, right?
Yeah.
Are you taking away somebody's creative genius? Maybe, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's going to come into question. This is part of what the future holds for us because we've always been focused on IP infringement. I think the next level is going to be creative infringement, and that has to be addressed because I have a son who's an artist, right? Who does art, and I'd hate for him to be deprived of his royalties, or anybody for that matter, anyone who uses their creative genius to be deprived of their true credit. I think that's the next big thing that we're going to be battling with. How do you create shared success with the speed and abilities that AI creates?
Yeah, that's a good point. I definitely think that's coming. I think the insurance part of it is really going to be interesting.
That's going to be a hard sell, but it's not a bad one to have. It's
No,
a new revenue stream. That's the way I
I
see
know
it.
it's just crazy. Well, we think about Watson and all the medical stuff, right? And how do you protect against a doctor who takes the advice of Watson and goes and gives a patient some experimental drug that kills them, right? I mean,
Correct.
and who's ultimately responsible, right? Is it the doctor or is it the AI? So I think there's a lot of ethical questions that are coming up, that are going to have to be answered. There's another guy I know from IBM as well, that's really getting into the ethical part, and how AI can be used to do some of this robocalling and other things where it figures out really quick what economic status you are, where you live, and I can tell that you're elderly, so I can take advantage of you in certain ways. So
Yeah.
it's that kind of crazy stuff where people are, it's always going to be used. Somebody's always going to find the bad way to use it, right? And
You know, the guy who founded the Nobel Prize, he designed it for something, but they used it for something else. But this is it's the two
yeah,
sides of any great invention.
yeah,
There are the creative minds for the positive, and then there are the creative minds for the negative genius,
yeah, for the
right?
destructive. So
The mad scientist and the good scientist.
I know it's crazy. But I think there's some bad stuff coming, right? So I still think there's a part of it that's just gonna, they're gonna either use it to hack systems or to develop new viruses or,
Correct.
whatever. Not like human pandemic viruses, although I'm sure that could happen as well. But just computer malware and that kind of stuff. So from the security angle, I think there's just a ton that's going to happen there.
No, cyber's got its job cut out, is the way I would put it,
Yeah,
right? As we enter into the realm of AI-driven DDoS attacks or AI-driven, phishing attacks, they're going to get so much more personal, sophisticated, and accurate that you wouldn't be able to tell good from bad
yeah,
or fake from real, right? So this is coming, and it's already happening right now, right? They're targeted phishing attacks that are happening that are getting people by surprise. The essence of preventing that from happening at large is creating awareness,
yeah,
right? Um, Especially if you look at large populist countries like India and China, the mix of people that have technology at hand. Everybody in India and China has a mobile phone now, right? Practically the whole 1.4 and 1.3 billion people, they have mobile phones with data in them. They have democratized technology to the extent where now a mal actor could truly impact a lot of people that are innocent,
yeah,
right? Which is where I think governments are coming in and jumping in to say, hey, you guys have to be aware. So when you make a call to a government office in India, there's a lot of public messaging that says, please be aware that they could sound like you, they could look like you in a camera. Don't trust anybody who asks you for information. Stuff that we would have in corporate cyber trainings, they're putting it as part of the day-to-day interaction models for elderly, seniors, and even children,
yeah,
right? So, and at large, that awareness creation is big, and I like the fact that some of the governments like India have done a phenomenal job of instrumenting that organizational change, if you want to call it
yeah,
that, the technology adoption and change, because India is big into digital money. They're the largest transaction holder for digital money. Like when you go to India now, nobody uses money. It's just on a scanner. Boom. That's it.
yeah,
Don't have nothing. Just scan and go, scan and go. That's how it is.
yeah. I don't like that world.
Come on, you can do this.
I just sold an old truck for a good amount, and the guy brought cash, and I
Oh, that's awesome.
I just enjoyed having all that cash sitting on the kitchen table, like I was a
Did you put it under your sheets and sleep on
like I
it?
was a gangster. Yeah, just fanning myself with it. No, it's good.
Yeah, cash is still king. I think it has its own place in the world. But what the digital economy has created, which is an interesting case study, they did some analysis on some of the Indian shopkeepers. India does a lot of street side shop selling,
Yep.
right? Like you buy fish on the street, you'll buy groceries like fresh produce from farms. People just come and sell, right? For all these people, what used to happen was when they had cash, a good portion of those street vendors would end up going to a bar and drink and never take the money home. A lot of them have reported that because of the digital economy, money hits the account and they don't have that raw access to money anymore. So it has changed some of their behavioral conditioning to be a little more saving, little more planning.
Mm-hmm.
It has been positive. So, you could go the gangster way or you could go the reformed way. You could choose the path.
No, I'm married, so it was deposited in the bank the next morning, so I only got to play with it for a couple hours.
Oh, well, that's good. That's good. She's keeping you in check.
Oh yeah, we're I'm I'm a pretty frugal guy these days, so I want a good retirement, so I'm doing everything I can to save for it, but crazy.
Yeah, you know what they say, anything above 75,000 doesn't make you more happy.
Yeah, yeah, I've never been, a money hoarder myself, but I do want to. I want to go. I want to do some more traveling, so that's kind of my goal, and I hope we get to go do some of it together at some point. So that would be really nice.
No, I'm pretty sure we will. Pretty sure we will.
So Neeraj, it was great to catch up. We're already over an hour, but it was fantastic catching up with you and talking, and I really thank you for the time and sharing some of your ideas. I look forward to doing it again sometime.
No, definitely. I think we are in a space that's continuously evolving, and our ideas, perceptions, and applications will change. So we're always going to be having these conversations because we are the ones who help people decipher the signal from the noise. That's the way I see it. Consulting is all about giving them the signal from the noise.
All right. Well, last question, and then I'll let you go. And it's back to the foodie subject. So, what's your last craziest meal that you've had that kind of stood out for you?
So I've been crazy about this restaurant in Palm Beach, Florida, right? I take many of my special customers to that place. It's a wine bar, but with a very choice menu of food, and it's called Rem Bar. The owner is Eva, and she is so amazing. She's so passionate. With service, you also get great food. And my love for burrata cheese, she helped rekindle and bring it back.
Oh,
Uh, Burrata is my biggest sin now. Any place I go, my friends are shamelessly saying, "Yeah, Neeraj's going to order that burrata thing that's there."
oh, that's great.
So I go to this Rembar place. She takes amazing care. And I'm vegetarian, so she always makes sure the chef makes a special vegetarian dish. Like this week when I took a customer was blown away with the quality of food, and he lives around the corner from there. He was like, "I didn't know this place had some good food. We
Oh,
always
that's
have it
great.
at Rembar." And her chef made a butter fried orzo with some sautéed vegetables for me. It was phenomenal, right? And then we topped it off with a mango sorbet with fresh berries and stuff like that. The pistachio cake there is like to die for. I've not had one person say they didn't like it. It's usually just wiped off clean. So Rambar is hitting the spot for me right now in West Palm Beach. It's in the Jupiter area, so or Bluffs is what they call it.
Excellent. Very
It's the
good.
place I've been geeking out.
Oh no, that's great. All right, sir. Well, thanks very much again, and yeah, I look forward to talking again soon. All right.
Cool. Nice meeting you again. Wish you an amazing success in this whole journey of yours in being both the fractional consulting world and this newfound love for sharing knowledge. It's a great way to spread the joy.
Thanks. I'm enjoying it.